Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Identity Human podcast with Don and
Ray Almond. Here we are,
just
back
so
again.
yeah, with episode number, I think we are number 40.
Impressive, high five. There we
Ooh,
go.
I nearly messed that up, sorry.
So what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, I was originally going to be talking about what does our real life look like. And so Ray sat down and she said, what are we talking about? And I said, well, let's talk about what our real life looks like. So she says, what does that mean? And I said, well, I think it's important to define the direction we're trying to take. And, it's not that we don't want to be setting people up to fail. So,
And you were like, and talk to people about what it means to live a high performance life. So I said, well, are we living a high performance life? What does it mean to live a high performance life? Because we that's what we say. It's one of our taglines. Like, we help people live a high performance life.
and I think why I really enjoyed that, is that essential whisper, is because you actually see that thrown around a lot, don't you? Like if you look on LinkedIn and social media, it's like high performance is like, it's a buzzword that's used a lot, and I get why. It's like we're all striving to be it, but me and Ray had a good 5-minute discussion before the podcast, and I was like, we should record this. She's like, no, let's get into flow and then talk about it. So I was like, okay, let's go with it. And we bounced through a couple of ideas of what high performing looks like, and then we didn't really, we settled on one, but we didn't. And I think it's one of those
we
where
have differences in opinion.
Yeah.
And it's one that I think maybe we won't ever clearly define, or we might find a model or a way of defining it. But I suppose what we decided to do in this episode was to sit down with you guys, you listeners, and flesh out what does it mean to be living a high performance life. And I threw out the first idea to say, well, is high performance, it is obviously very personal, because Don was like, high performance is your Olympians who are winning golds and professional rugby players.
Well, I mean, I said it could be deemed as in terms of what's the high standard.
Typically, when you think high performance, you think in a sporting environment. So what is that then? How does that translate to high performance, or how do you translate that to everyday life? And I said, well,
and can you transfer?
Can you? So that's something we can discuss. And hopefully we bring some interesting ideas to you guys to think about here about what are you living a high performance life? Is that even the type of life you want to live? So I was just thinking, when it comes to high performance, I imagine we're going to probably say it's something that's very not personal. What do you mean, like customizable or contextual to what you are trying to achieve? And I said, is high performance, if you are living a high performance life, does that mean that you are always working towards, or at least maybe getting closer to achieving what you deem as your ideal life? So if you say, well, I want to be a certain type of parent, have a certain type of career or business, have my body look a certain way, and as long as you are moving towards that, or you're currently living in that you're high performance, so that you may not have goals, but you may have an idea of how your life should be. So high performance means you are working towards that and actually making progress every day. Is that high performance?
I had a slightly different view, didn't I? Which I don't know if I explained
properly. I then
went
on to say, well, if you take someone who, I don't want to put someone's life down.
Don't.
Yeah.
So maybe let's work around in a different way.
Because you do get people who are happy.
Yeah, but hold on.
Doing.
Yes. Yeah. So I know you're trying to find the right way around that. So let's just go with this way first. So I had said, could we define high performance as performing above a standard which you could maintain for an extended period of time? And so I know that you said, yeah, but you get used to it. So yes, and that's why it's contextual, is because we could be looking at the current lifestyle that we've got as normal, right?
Yeah.
But to someone that's got, you always hear it, like if you've got one kid and you see someone with two, you're like, I don't know how you do it. Well, if you see someone with two kids, if you are someone with two kids, you see someone with three kids, you go, oh my goodness, I don't know how you do it. Then you add a business on top of that to that one person, the person that has one kid and a job, they'll be like, wow, how do you do it all? But to say, for example, we've got like 4 kids and a couple of businesses, we might not deem this as high performance because this is a level that we can maintain. Whereas high performance would be like, for this next two months, we're going to be short on sleep. We're going to have to do this because there's this happening, but we know that it's a period. And so for me, that might be a way of defining high performance.
So just to talk to that a bit, I just want to, one proviso before I jump to the main point, is that I think having one kid comes with its own unique challenges. So I don't want to put down the one kid. I don't think 2, 3, 4 kids is more high performance than having one kid. So I just want to lay that out there.
That was an example that we've heard so many people say that. Yes. So that's not us going.
And as another aside, the reason why I suppose you allude to us, are we living a normal life ourselves, Don and I, or are we living high performance, like a high performance life? That comes purely from the fact that a very, very common thing that people say to us when we tell them, like we say, hey, what you got going on, and we describe what we're up to, we always get told, wow, you guys have a lot going on. How do you do it all? So it's a common thing that gets said to us almost daily by people. So that's why we think, well, why do we always get that said to us? Like, are we living such a different life to other people? So then going to your main point.
Or other people that we know.
Yes, so I just want to address those 2 points that you said. And maybe just the people we hang out with that we're just doing, saying like that, all the people that we meet, that we always seem to get this comment of saying like, wow, how do you do so much? So I first wanted to address those 2 points of what you said, but going back to your main point, like you think your definition that you brought to the table of high performance is performing at a level beyond which you could maintain over a long period of time. And I kind of question that, because what sports person did you give an example of? It was a
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Footballer. It is a footballer.
Close, yes.
And you said, well, so like Cristiano Ronaldo wouldn't be able to sustain that, so eventually you'd have to stop. Okay, and maybe with age that might be true, but I kind of think if you are truly living a high performance life, you would know when to build in those rest periods so that you could sustain it indefinitely. So you would know your body, you would adjust, put in rest, and so you could go again and then rest and go again. And so maybe that does fall to your definition.
And you left off a key bit, and I said, when there's no longer a just reward or accountability for doing that, what level do you fall down to? So, for example, if Cristiano Ronaldo gymmed 6 days a week, did his recovery, woke up at 6 in the morning, do his ice bath, and do all that kind of stuff that he does because he knows he needs to be at peak performance for a weekend game, when he retires, does he maintain that level of activity? Probably not. Yeah. And that for me is why I'd say it's high. That's where it's a high performing lifestyle.
So are we saying then if you are planning on living a high performance life, it's not something that you would sustain for more than 10 or 20 years? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it could. In business, this is where it's slightly different. So sport is very, very focused in on the shorter periods of time. Mm-hmm. So a career is 10 years time. Or career on average, sports, say for rugby, is 10 years. Yeah. Whereas business, it's a lot longer. And that's why when you implement KPIs or cultural practices or management programs or leadership development, it takes a lot longer for you to see the results of those. Whereas in sport, it's like it's every season. You can implement something in 1 week and you can see how people's performance is affected on the weekend. And then over a 6 month period, you get to, so we get to learn 60 years of lessons in 10 years, if not less. Because we are forced to go high performance on a weekend, back down, high performance. Whereas business is like, it's like perform. You don't really know when those peaks and troughs are unless there's a deadline. But those deadlines come, maybe it's overextended periods of time.
I know you've spoken to this before. And it's also interesting because I think if we look at like your lifetime, because of being a business owner, most business owners don't ever really talk about retirement. They probably want to work 60s, 70s. They'll just adjust their lifestyle to a level that they enjoy maintaining, as they get to those years in their life. So when if we start to look at peak performance and high performance, you could say, well, how can you maybe sustain high performance over 40 years in business? And that may change the way it looks over time. And so our focus could be very much in supporting people to maintain their high performance over 30 to 40 years in business. But where we really honing in on, I was just thinking about this today, and it kind of links to what we're saying. We are really focusing on how can you achieve high performance in this kind of 10 to 20 year window where you are growing a business and you have young children.
And you don't want to get to year 20 and have those typical, I sacrifice my relationship with my kids for something that doesn't last as long as what my kids' memory of me will. So like, I wish I'd spend more time with.
Yes.
I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that.
And it was interesting because this kind of ties into saying that I was invited to do a podcast with Rob Graves.
Go and plug it. You
today.
can plug
His name is the Utterly Indispensable,
Yeah.
I think, podcast for estate agents.
Hi,
So it's
Rob.
very niche. And he was saying, because we're talking about what you and I are trying to do with Identity Human and how we're trying to help parents of young kids in business kind of achieve this. Like, I spoke about how I used to live for like a year or two with anxiety. I still get little bouts of it now, but used to live with anxiety and stress. Like, I had a successful business, I had these happy young kids, but I was stressed, and I was from the outside I was living this high performance life, but on the inside I was like a bit of a mess. And from really working with you, Don, and your models, and I love how your eyebrows raise, and us working together and really working on myself.
If you're listening to it, raise in like a surprise, that's nice kind of way, not like a raise like I don't.
You need to hear what I say to you about you to other people. I don't give you compliments face to face enough if I see this reaction. But so by working on myself with the support of the lovely Don Armand,
no, it's you.
I was able to continue to be the mom I wanted to be, to continue to grow the business, but actually become a much more centered and calm person. And Rob then said, well, he finds it doesn't that just come with age? He's so much more centered and calm. But his kids are now in their like late teens, 20s. They're like off around the world. And I said, yes, I think it does come with age, no doubt about it. But what we are trying to help people to do, and this links to high performance, is we're trying to get those people who are 10 to 15 years earlier in the life cycle than Rob, like who still have the young kids at home, like their kids aren't in their early 20s and don't want to wait until their kids are into their early 20s to feel that calm and sense of like not being stressed. So we are trying to bring that wisdom or that calmness that comes 10 to 20 years from now into the now, so that you can have this high performance life without being a mess on the inside.
Yeah, and I think it's such a good point to hear what you guys spoke about, because this goes in tune with like, and I say like because it is a simile, I'm not as a filler word, it's mental fitness that we speak about, and you have to be able to build that up, but it's hard to know what to do. So when it comes to running a marathon, you go on a training program, you know that it's run 5K, run 5K, run 5K, rest, run 10K, run 5K, run 5K, rest, run 10K, run 10K, run 5K, rest. And then you build up. Same with gymming, same with any physical program. There is someone out there that can give you, if you follow their step-by-step program, you 100% will achieve the goal that you want to, because it's measured, it's tracked, it's proven, it's scientific. This is where I come alive, and it's like the mental side of it is fascinating because there's so much depth there. But the problem is it's different for everyone, so it's really hard to track because it's all around that thing called desire.
And there's no like tangible way to measure progress. If you're running, you're going to use an app like Strava or your Garmin and actually see those, you know, how long it takes you to run a 5 kilometer come down, or you're going to see those tangible measurables. The same with weightlifting. You're going to be able to lift more and more. You're going to see your muscles changing.
You can have some protein shakes and
yes, and so there's some known measurable routes to take. And what John's discovered and supporting many people on this journey is that there's very much is the same when it comes to your brain. They've literally proven in neuroscience that there's a certain part of your brain that grows when you do things you don't want to do. And so it's like it's really exercising that muscle, that part of your brain, that hard choices. And that's where I think you've become just so obsessed with getting those mental models and those ways for people to kind of to feel and test and measure and know how they expand over time.
Yeah, I suppose you I think you know the right one that I was talking about, that I would talk about here. And I'm very specific about understanding your energy state. And what Rob said there is as you get older, you get that calm. But for me, it's not the age that brings that calm. It's the fact that you have more energy resource available to be calm with your kids.
It's change in circumstances. You don't have your kids needing you as much.
And so this is why, if you want to self-develop and you're young, do as much as you can before you have kids. because your kids will test you at the times you need them to test you the least, with the best intention, and the only thing that you will do is end up giving them some form of like harsh, unnecessary emotional battles to go through, because you've been impatient, because you don't have the energy resources to give them the patience they need to help work through an error that they made. So because we've worked on it, an example today, we try and be very strict, not strict, like we try and be very boundaried with the electronics.
Okay, yes.
And since with holiday time coming, they get a gap in the middle of the day to watch their TV.
Yes.
So we're quite aware of what, like I'm always looking at like the dopamine levels and what it's doing to their brains and all that kind of stuff. You know, the stuff we think we know what we're talking about until you become a neuroscientist, then you realize how far off you were. But we only go with what we know. So Miles, I took a Switch away ages ago. And the Switch has games like Mario Kart. And, yeah, he's the oldest. And I've recently given it back to him because I'm like, actually, if we're going to give him TV, he really enjoys it and he feels accomplished. So there are those sense of accomplishments and everything that come with it. But he knows that he's got a certain time that he's allowed to. And we've gone through the periods of like, oh, we'll take away Switch because you've done this. And then eventually it was becoming it was so easy to make him upset because like, oh, we'll take that away because you talk back or because you hurt your brother or sister or because you were rude. So we're like, okay, we're not like, if we say it in the moment, we go, okay, Miles, understand that I was in the wrong space to say that. You can still have it, but there's got to be a different consequence. But because we've been working on this like availability of energy state and making sure that we stick to our priorities with the kids, I came home with my mom today. As I walk in, I hear this shuffling upstairs. And bear in mind, it's now afternoon. They've had their TV. There's done. And I know that Miles has the Switch charging in my office, which I can hear as I come in. And I hear the shuffling. So I come upstairs. I'm like, Miles. And I know he's been in here, but I can't see him. So I walk through and he's hidden somewhere. I don't know where he's hidden. I can't hear the stairs creaking. So I know he hasn't run down the other side.
Yeah.
So he's somewhere in the house. But in that time that I was looking for him, I walked up the stairs and I was like, oh, I'm going to take away Switch. And you know how you go through like, what am I going to do? But because I couldn't find him, and I had an extra minute or 30 seconds, let's say. So I searched the one room, searched the next room, and I couldn't find him. So as I was walking, I was like, actually, what would be better in this moment? To take away the Switch and punish him for doing something, or can I try and really put myself in his shoes and understand why he would do it? And then I was like, actually, if I was his age, and this is the one thing we forget what it's like to be a kid.
Yes.
So we need people to be patient and understanding to guide us, because those make us feel good about ourselves when they go, I accept that you've done that. Just remember, and you just guide them instead of punishing them the whole time. And so when he like, I was standing in the kitchen like 2 minutes, 3 minutes later, and he came up behind me, he's like, boo. And I looked at him, I was like, Miles, you were playing on the Switch, weren't you? And he looks at me, he goes, yeah, okay, it was me. Are you going to take it away? And I said, no. I said, I know what it was like at your age when there was something that was really exciting that was right there that you had. So I completely understand why you would do that. But you know that we don't want you to do that. Can I please ask you to respect the boundaries you have within the time? He walked away from there going, okay, I may have gotten away with it, but I fessed up. I was honest. My dad was accepting that it was just a thing that kids do. And I'm going to try and trust that. Now, I already know that it might take 2 or 3 more times before that lesson actually sinks in. But the point is, we say to leaders, you've got to coach people. You've got to be willing to let people make mistakes. It's really about intrinsic motivation. And that's what I felt I was tapping into today, where I was giving him that power to go, you make the decision, my boy. You know what the boundaries are. So I would expect you, because I value who you are and what you can be, to make that decision that next time, make the right choice. And even if he doesn't, I mean, Mars, I still love you, but I know that you'll make the right choice. Now, we might come back on in 2 months' time and be like, yeah, Miles has actually really taken advantage of that and he's doing it more and more. So I had to take it away, but I have to give him the benefit of the doubt first. So I think that for me was a big moment. Whereas I know, say a month ago when I didn't have that energy resource, I would have just been like, I'm taking it away, and I would have hidden in the cupboard.
How does this link to the high performance life you're talking about?
It's because a high performance life, maybe this is where a definition comes in, is it's not where you're able to perform in one area and everywhere else suffers. It's where you're able to perform in one area as well as every other area of your life.
And it goes back to what I was saying, where like 2-3 years ago, I was doing everything I could to show up as a good mom. I was building the businesses. They were growing nicely, but I internally was suffering. So I was high performance on the outside, but on the inside I wasn't. So it's having that balance. And do you know what the crazy thing is that by really working on the inside and really working on yourself, it sounds so cliche, but those other things just come so much more easily. And it's you always hear that thing of, don't work in your business, work on your business. Okay. But for me, it's taking it a step further and saying work on yourself, then work on your business, then work in your business.
I also want to, because I know we've got people listening and you were like, I know it sounds cliche. I was like, hang on. I think it's really important to emphasize that it's cliche because so many people say it, but they don't actually believe it. They just throw it out there because it's like, oh yes, I'm working on myself. But I want us to know that it's not cliche for no reason. It's really important that we get to grips with the fact that if you're not the best version of yourself in all areas of your life, you're not the best version of yourself in any. Because it's a level of inauthenticity. You fool yourself
to a degree. And I think to myself, yes, we're still working on it, but where we've got so much better about keeping ourselves calm and centered and working on ourselves constantly. And that comes to the way we eat, the way we exercise, just everything, just taking time to develop ourselves instead of those things outside of ourselves. When I slip up on working on myself, so I go through a few days of not eating well and not sleeping and all of those things, I'm mind blowing how much more easy I slip into those bad habits as a mom, how much I battle to make clear decisions in business. And so it just makes everything so much harder. And so it's like you say, if you're not performing well in all areas, then it has a massive knock-on effect. If one area is falling down, it has a massive knock-on effect on the others.
And I think for me, it comes with this, as a integrity. When you talk about integrity and authenticity, I get really, really disheartened when someone talks a big game and then you get to see the other side of it and it's the complete opposite. For me, there can't be a bigger disconnect and something that makes me go, that saying of you never meet your heroes. It's because they always say that they have a bad side. And I agree, everyone's a nightmare to live with. We know this. No one is perfect.
Yeah.
But actually, it's almost about the fact that you're not super tidy in your office and very untidy at home. It's that you're trying in both areas. Is that you're willing to say this is something that we're working on, because that's where I think people that's where I get disappointed, and that's where I think you lose respect and authenticity and what you're trying to achieve. Is you can follow people. So think about Mr. Beast at the moment.
Yeah,
he's the highest subscriber, all that kind of flying, and people are starting to unpick certain things that he's doing. He's setting up this scene. He's made this mistake, and now he's losing all his followers.
Oh, is he?
And not all. I mean, he's still still going to gain more because of bringing negative attention. And people are really weird in psychology and the way that we work. But for me, it takes away from that. I really was enjoying the legacy that he was creating. He had loads of money and he was building wells in Africa, and still is really good. But as the individual, if he was doing things to take shortcuts, he wasn't holding himself up in all areas of his life. And for me,
so was he taking shortcuts to make the videos seem like he was
CGI and things, which I understand why, but I'd almost admit to that. So I'm not saying don't do it, but admit that you faked some bits because it makes it look cool.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to fake people, and it brings it back down to that. Do you remember that mayonnaise that we had at where that river was next to the restaurant, and we had Clark, and it said made with olive oil.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, oh, olive oil in the mayonnaise, that's good. And then you looked at the back and it was 1% olive oil, 99% rapeseed. And I was like, I'll never buy again. I was so excited about it. They got my hopes up.
And if you just context of this is that it's this whole idea of certain oils being inflammatory for your body. So rapeseed oil is one of the inflammatory ones.
Supposedly.
So
we're going to stick to supposedly.
Yes. So we're not going to, this isn't a podcast about the science, but it's supposedly, and I'm just explaining the context, olive oil, as long as it's not cooked at a certain high temperature, is not inflammatory. So it's so hard, though, to find products that have used these non-inflammatory oils compared to the ones that are inflammatory. So there was this nice like mayonnaise, it said made with olive oil, but it wasn't made only with olive oil. It was obviously there to sell to people, but it had all these other bad oils in it. So I get it. It's saying, but this comes back around to your silent CV, and we could go down that whole rabbit hole. Do you think that being authentic in all areas of your life is key to living a high performance life? So is Mr. Beast then, by your definition, without picking at Mr. Beast, is he not living a high performance life?
No, because I don't think it. I think unfortunately we've set ourselves up to make people perform at a high level that's inauthentic, and that's why they fall out the other side broken or wounded or talking it down, because they weren't authentic about how they created it. It was like they were trying really hard to be something they weren't, perform at a high level, but it was eating away at who they are. For me, what I would like to create is someone that is authentically high performing, so that they are themselves in all areas and they come back with really good memories, talking positively about things and inspiring others to do the same, as opposed to coming out the other side being a hurt or victim almost, and being like, you see that some guys will go and sue an organization because of what they've been through.
Yeah.
And that's because they were being something that they weren't.
So for me, I fear that we are going down this loop of saying, to be high performance, you need to have this amazing silent CV where you're just always authentic, and it's starting to sound a little bit like you need to be this perfect person. And I think this leads us very nicely into a point that, like the main point that you wanted to talk about on this episode, about what does real life look like. So we don't want to think that we believe that living a high performance life means being perfect, inverted commas, in all areas of your life, that you are always eating perfectly, always getting enough sleep, always meditating, journaling, showing up as a great parent, mom or dad, showing up as the best business owner, right? So what does high performance look like in everyday life? What does our everyday life look like for people who are striving to live a high performance life?
So just so you know what popped in my head, there's even high performance isn't perfect. So perfect doesn't come into it. So if I'm in a rugby field, we knock on, we make mistakes, we give away penalties, we're not as fit as we should be, but you're still high performing.
0.5% of the world, but you're still high performing.
You're still high performing. So I think it's really important to know, it's a really important point that you made, but it's also to remind from a high performing background in rugby is going, no environment is perfect. So it's nothing wrong with striving for a game. So we used to strive to have as little knock-ons, under 3 penalties, make sure we knew our set piece. Striving for perfection was good because it meant your errors are minimal. And that was the difference between teams that won and teams that lost, is that we knew the less mistakes we made, the better our performance would be. So I still think it's important that in all areas of your life, you're aiming, and I know that we have a difference of opinion here, is you still have to aim to make as little of those areas as possible. Otherwise, you start to accept more and more of them, if that makes sense.
And isn't it interesting? I thought of a really interesting analogy or lesson that you could take from the rugby environment. The teams that performed the best were the ones that really nailed that team, that like connection, that like family vibe, that like real culture of connectivity. And what is that bringing to the team? It's bringing the human element, the identity human, like bringing the human element and realizing that you're not all perfect, but together you can create this vision. And I think the same thing then can be pulled into your everyday life, saying that when you are aiming for this high performance life, embrace that human side of you and don't shy away from it. Like know that you're going to be human. You're going to have the mess ups. You can lean on people around you, as long as you just kind of keep aiming towards something and you're not kind of drifting through life.
Yeah. And I think that's really important now we tie in like leadership. And if you're the owner of a business or a parent, is the ability to recognize that you are not perfect and you shouldn't be, and that it's okay, means that you're okay with when you make mistakes, which means it shows other people how to deal with when they make mistakes, because you go, oh, I'm only human. It's okay. This happens. We can move forward. That creates a better internal motivation to want to keep trying, as opposed to the leader that thinks, oh, we shouldn't make mistakes. Oh, I'm perfect. You never see me. So they cover up their mistakes and they will hide their defeats and all those things that come with it. That creates an air of like, ooh, what's going on here? Because, oh, I've made a mistake. I don't want to show my leader that I've done it. So we have to recognize that high performance isn't perfect. Neither is our life, like in sports, so neither is our life. And as a leader, you shouldn't be perfect, but you should still strive for it, which means that you accept when you make mistakes. That's going to breed an air of authenticity, the willingness to make mistakes, which means you're going to try and do things, which means that you'll get things, hopefully, get things done and raise your game.
Like it.
Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think I'm happy with everything we've discussed. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I think in summary, I think we had a really good flow. Probably went off tangent at around minute 20 to minute 25 when you let me take the mic.
And you had a good story about Miles, but I think...
No, after the story of Miles. I think the story is good. Wow, okay.
No, I like the story about Miles.
No, I'm joking. It was just on the tangent after that I think it was interesting to see. I'm hoping people take stuff out of that because I can sometimes go down the rabbit hole on things. But I really enjoyed where we got to this because we were originally supposed to talk about what does our real life look like. And in summary, we've spoken about high performance, but our real life looks like striving to be high performers, but making mistakes along the way and holding ourselves to a standard that when we don't reach it, we recognize we're not doing it and we kick ourselves back onto that standard as quick as possible. And I think that's the real important factor is like, it's not about being perfect every day. It's just about striving to be like that more often than not.
And one of the key things that we really rely on to hold us consistent so we don't fall completely off the bandwagon is some of our habit stacks and like the minimum maximum that we sustain within our life. Now, what we are doing to introduce people to this that kind of concept and get them going on this is every couple of months we run a free challenge. It was 10 days. We've now condensed it into 5 days just to make it easier to digest in our busy lives. And we start on Wednesday, the 28th of August, which is actually the day when this episode will be released, I think. Our next 5-day challenge begins. So if you're listening to this, it's probably too late to sign up, but do visit www.identityhuman.com to join the waitlist to hear about our next challenge. Like I said, it's every couple of months. I think we've planned the next one for end of October now.
Yeah.
And
winter, so it'll be easy.
Yeah, leaning into, well, why would winter matter?
Sorry.
Yes. So yes, we want to help you on that journey towards kind of maybe developing a very miniature framework that helps you to be consistent in your goal towards like striving for this high performance life. So listen out for that.
Or just striving towards the life that you want.
The life that you want, yes. High performance, and I think it ties back to what I first brought up. Like, isn't high performance just aiming for what you want without drifting through life and letting life pull you along, but actually have saying that you targeting and actively working towards that?
Because it's easy to get to the top, it's harder to stay at the top.
Yeah. You think so?
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Because when you're chasing something, you're determined. When you've got that thing, well, what now?
So yeah, once you've achieved it, what's the next thing you're aiming for?
So if it's a leadership perspective, is how do you adapt your environment? That changes once you've gotten to the top.
So yes, I just want to always just kind of point you in the direction of identityhuman.com. Get yourself on our waitlist, on our mailing list, so that you hear about when we launch episodes of our podcast, and as we launch kind of helpful guides and challenges that will help you. Also, if you are enjoying the content we're putting out there, please do subscribe, because then you'll get notified whenever we launch a new episode. And any reviews or ratings that you can leave us would be massively appreciated, because it helps us to reach a wider audience. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Genuinely, this is your time that you've given, and we've filled your brain with our stuff. So we're hoping to add value in whatever we do.
Yeah, we really appreciate the time you give to us.
And let's keep making a difference, and let's keep remembering who we are, people at the end of the day. So I'll look after me for you, if you look after you for me, right? Ubuntu, like it says in my shirt, we are who we are through others. All right. Cheers.